Welcome to Anything is Possible, the Boston Celtics podcast here on the Athletic Podcast Network. This podcast is brought to you by DirecTV Stream. Get your TV together with the best of live and on demand. Learn more at directtv.com. I am your host, Sam Jam Packard, professional sports fan, and I am joined, as always, and it pains me more to say this than it does in the past, the kid, the god, the legend, Celtics beat reporter,
also the champion
from the Athletic, Jay King, ladies and gentlemen. And yes, Jay and I did engage in one-on-one basketball combat over the weekend, and Jay pretty soundly defeated me. Beat me, what was it, 15-11, 15-9?
Yep.
Yeah, it wasn't fun. I'm not proud of my performance. It wasn't at all good basketball in any respect on either of our parts. You were just better than I was, but we both played pretty poorly, I would say.
I would say it was one of the ugliest fucking games of all time, but we can discuss that later. Let's get to Celtic stuff first, and then we'll get to the good stuff. We got to tease the good stuff. Everyone wants to hear about our epic one-on-one match, which really was horrible.
We'll tell the whole tale, the entire story in the second half of the pod. But first, I asked you guys on Twitter what topics you wanted me and Jay to talk about. And so you guys responded, and we were going to do it. Not a lot of news this week. It's the first week Brad decided not to make a deal, not to make a trade. We had Paul Pierce going into the Hall of Fame, Mike Gorman going into the Hall of Fame. Were you able to watch either of those? I think they just showed Mike Gorman on screen for about 30 seconds, and that was his entire appearance that night. But did you watch the Paul Pierce kind of speech at all?
No. I was on vacation. I'm going to watch it at some point. I just haven't yet.
It didn't interest me really what he had to say.
Didn't want to hear about Paul Pierce. Didn't want to hear his Hall of Fame speech at all.
No, I wanted to. I just started watching it, and then C-Web talked, and then Ben Wallace talked, and then a bunch of other people talked, and I just kept on waiting for Paul Pierce, and then I got bored, so I just stopped watching. But it didn't apparently make a lot of headlines. No one was like, "Wow, that was the best speech of all time." Paul Pierce, Hall of Famer. That's cool. It was more interesting was Paul Pierce's article with Chris Mannix, where he just talked about how he didn't like ESPN because they made him talk about LeBron the whole time. That was much more worth your time if you were looking for some Paul Pierce content.
Just jabbing at LeBron. He loves jabbing at LeBron. And yeah, that article by Mannix was pretty good. I have a long-standing Twitter beef with Mannix, but that was a very good article. Pierce opened up a little bit about a lot of different stuff. So salute to Mannix. Horrible hair. I was going to say
that's probably the most compliments Mannix is going to get on this podcast. But let's dive into the questions. This is from Joshua Loins asking, what are your thoughts on the NBA introducing the kind of cup knockout tournament, lose one game and you're out format? We had Shams from the Athletic announcing that they're kind of looking into doing this mid-season tournament, and the incentive to players would be each player would win $1 million. What do you think about the NBA trying to institute kind of a gimmicky thing like that?
Yeah, I think it all depends on whether you can sell it to the fans. Like if the fans believe that it matters, then it could be really cool. And that starts, I think, by convincing the players that it matters. Like if you have, let's say, Kevin Durant versus the Warriors in the championship of a midseason tournament, that could be awesome. That could be really cool. That could be a wrinkle that the NBA just doesn't have right now. I think there's also a chance that just having a midseason tournament, nobody cares about it. It's not like soccer where midseason tournaments are a thing and people care about trophies. Like it's never been a part of NBA culture. It's never been a part of that world. So I guess we'll see. I'm a little skeptical that people will really care, but I guess, if there are two good teams playing in a game that is for a championship, I'll tune in, but I would tune in no matter what if it was just a regular season game. So it's not me that they're going after.
Yeah, I think the question is what do teams do with injured players, or if someone's nursing something like, I don't know, say Jason Tatum is like knee tendonitis, or I'm not like just any injury, do they automatically just like sit him out for that tournament because those games don't matter in terms of the regular season? And like, how do kind of teams vying for playoff spots?
Or will it matter for the regular season? Like, do we know the exact rules? Like, it could be something where your performance in those games does matter, but I don't know the exact rules.
Would like guarantee you a spot in the playoffs? I think that is an interesting way to try to like up the incentive. I think it does ultimately come down to like whether or not the players care, and like care more than they would just a normal January regular season game. And like the All-Star game, we see that like they don't really care until the final, what was 5 minutes.
Even
and now it's like
care.
Even then they don't care, but it like becomes a lot more interesting because it's like a little bit more effort and the stakes are there. And so I don't know. I just don't know. It feels hard to kind of start this trend, like this tradition anew.
It's all about money.
Watch it.
All about money.
Oh, absolutely.
NBA can sell sponsors, and that's it. And now,
do you think it would go in addition?
Cool, honestly, if fans believe it matters, and this becomes a tradition, then having a tournament will be awesome. Like,
it has to be something where you get like a playoff spot in it, because there has to be high enough stakes. Because I don't think
$1 million per person isn't enough.
I don't think players are going to care enough
for $1 million. So you wouldn't. Let's say you have to win 4 games to win $1 million. You don't think players will care?
I think they'll care more than the average January game. But like, then what happens?
Dennis Schroeder making $6 million this year is going to care about an extra $1 million?
No, because I don't think Dennis Schroeder cares about money, because he had an opportunity to make $80 million over 4 years. And so what happens if you have like a nagging injury? Like, where do you put your
but that's any regular season game.
Yeah, but you see with at least like ever since Kawhi went to Toronto, that nagging injuries, if you're a star player, you sit out regular season games. You sit out back-to-backs. How long are they going to take to do 4 games in a midweek tournament? Are you taking like 2 weeks during the All-Star, or like a full week to do that? And then you're having a player like, I don't know, star players barely play back-to-backs now. It's like would Kemba Walker last year have ever played in a mid-season tournament? And then are you getting the best versions of these teams? I don't know. It feels like it has to be a combination of the $1 million and like you're doing it for a playoff, because you have to have the team's incentive to want to win it, other than just kind of like reimbursing their players. Like the organization has to want to win it.
But let's be honest, the teams that would win that probably already have a playoff spot no matter what. It would be very
probably. Yeah, but it's one game. That's what makes it fun, is that like one game elimination is just really fun, because anything can happen. And then you can have just like, oh my God, the Pistons are making a run, and like they're going to be the 8th seed no matter what, just because like Sadiq Bey,
they're making a run.
They might in a single elimination tournament where the top teams don't care at all. Hello, Pasha Fasenko, saying just hi to me. What up, Pasha?
Yeah, why aren't you saying hi to both of us?
Because he knows I'm down after losing that game. I think it's interesting. I like that the NBA is trying new things. I think it's like weird to kind of add more games. I think I would rather the midseason tournament come out of and like reduce the number of games that the teams have right now. But like you said, it's all about making money. So I wouldn't be shocked if it's like, no, you're going to play 82 games and then also have a midseason tournament.
My guess would be that they'd substitute out some games for the midseason tournament. And then it would be a way to get back some of that money and do it in a way to package it in a way that fans might care even more than they would about, the 5 regular season games or whatever.
Sorry, I got distracted by that comment on the screen.
We will not repeat that comment.
The play-in tournament, I was initially skeptical of, but it turned out to be really cool. Like enjoy watching all those single elimination basketball games at the end of the year, and I think it made the competitive structure more interesting, just to get more teams going for the final playoff spots. And there was like a lot of more intrigue, at least with the Celtics perspective. Like, you really didn't want to be in that play-in tournament. They ended up winning their game, but like being in the 7th seed was not great. And so as long as like the new change in midseason tournament like affects, I think, like competitive balance or like the teams are actually wanting to win it, I think it'll end up being cool. But other than that, I don't know. I'm a little bit skeptical, but everyone's always resistant to change. Wow.
That was a very nice comment.
Someone said that we were his childhood, which makes me feel old, and we helped a lot more than we can realize, and we have no idea who he is. That is true. But thank you for that comment.
Reach out to us off the podcast, man. I would love to chat, or woman, whoever you are. Although you did say you were, we won't talk about what so I'm guessing you're a dude.
We're moving on to de facto segment producer Eddie Truth Faustino. He's got a number of questions like he always does. Did you see Dennis Schroeder is letting fans pick his number?
Yes.
With like on some sort of weird web. Does he have like his own website or his own like Bitcoin? What is going on with Dennis Schroeder?
So he has a tokenized fan community. So basically you can buy a Dennis Schroeder token, I guess. And,
segment because Jay explains Bitcoin and NFTs is wonderful.
Yeah, so I mean, I don't know the exact details of his token, but basically you can buy a piece of his fan club, I would guess, and part of this is you get to choose his number. The part that I found most interesting was not just that Dennis Schroeder is letting fans pick his number, but that one of the numbers he chose, 38, was already taken by Sam Hauser, and that Dennis Schroeder, who like is an actual NBA player, not just a two-way contract guy, and has been in the NBA for a long time, wasn't just like, sorry, Sam, like that's gonna be my number. He
said he took it off the board. He's like, the Hauser's already got that one.
Yeah, so I appreciated that out of Dennis Schroeder. You know, he didn't come in and just slap Sam Hauser around for his number, even though Hauser like never had that in a regular season setting. He just agreed to a two-way deal. So salute to Dennis for not strong arming Sam Hauser.
The other good thing about it is that other than the number 8, he picked only numbers that had never been used by the Celtics before. Some like real football and like hockey numbers, like 87. I think there's like a 65 in there. Just some real bizarre ones that you're just not used to seeing on a basketball court. That's
71, I think was one of them.
Yeah, if I had my Dennis Schroeder coin, which I have yet to purchase, but that's where my vote would go for one of those wacky numbers. I always love I'm wearing a Jay Crowder 99 right now. I like the high double digits. But no one really goes, people go 99, but no one really goes like, and I've seen occasional 90. What the big dog?
Dennis Rodman was 91, right?
Yeah. What about Amir Johnson? Did he have a big number? Or am I misremembering? I feel like he was like 91 or 81. Maybe I'm just misremembering
I think you're
that.
Very wrong.
Yeah, well, I might be very wrong. I'm just
might be very right.
Misremembering the big dog, but anything like 76.
He was 90. He was 90.
See?
You were right.
So like I need an odd number or a number in the 70s, and I think that'll be perfect for Schroeder. So if you guys have the currency, go spend it on voting for a cool number for Dennis Schroeder. The next question is from Danny R at Piggy Panda 123. Will Ime Udoka be able to rest Jalen and Jason at the same time? If so, for how long? And I think this is kind of an interesting question, especially because we've seen the Celtics be really bad when Tatum's not on the court, at least the kind of last season. So can they kind of go with stretches where both he and Jalen are not on the court next year?
I think they'll be able to potentially have that option. So I am literally in the process of writing a projected rotation, and one of my questions for myself was, should they stagger Tatum and Brown? I think the obvious answer is yes, they should, just because we've seen Tatum be able to carry lineups before. I think they'll have a much better chance of succeeding with a lineup if Jalen's on the court, if Tatum is sitting. But I also think with Schroeder, with Cantor, with Josh Richardson, there's a chance all those guys come off the bench. And then you have Nesmith, you have Pritchard. Like I think there's a chance that their bench is pretty good, pretty talented, and with Schroeder and Cantor, those are two guys who can score and kind of keep your second unit afloat from a scoring perspective. So I don't think they'll necessarily need to do it, but I do think it'll probably look a lot crisper when at least one of those guys is on the court.
Yeah, I mean, I think the question's more just about Tatum. Like, I don't know. Jalen doesn't have, like, when it's just Jalen and the bench, those lineups, I don't know for a fact, but I haven't checked the statistics. But my general gut says, like, those lineups haven't been great, especially on offense when it's just, like, on Jalen to create. And so it's really, like, the difference has been, like, Jason Tatum on court, Jason Tatum off court. I do think they have a much better bench and like NBA ready guys. Like last year when Tatum was off the court and especially when Kemba was hurt, you just had a lot of Jeff Teague minutes. You had a lot of Peyton Pritchard minutes. You had a lot of, I don't know, just Grant Williams minutes, just a lot of guys with not a lot of experience and especially not a lot of offensive creation. I think now the bench, like
they started like Carson Edwards sometime. They did some weird stuff last year.
Right now, just in what I'm thinking is like, and I don't know how you did this for your kind of rotation projection, but I wouldn't be surprised if like Jason Tatum is like the first sub out or something like that at like the 8 or the 4-minute mark of the first quarter. You bring in Dennis Schroeder to kind of like be the offense, and then you bring Tatum back at the start of the second quarter, like something like that, where you have a kind of a guy who's been able to get buckets in Schroeder on the court for those moments when Tatum's not there. And then, as you mentioned, if they do start Al Horford or if they bring Al Horford off the bench, you have him, Richardson, and Cantor are all just like established NBA players, which I think is just going to do so much more where you're no longer relying on, I don't know, Shemi Ojeleye to kind of like knock down threes in the corner. And so it could happen, but I obviously, I still think the team's on-off numbers are going to be better when Jason Tatum's on the court, but I think they're probably going to survive.
Prediction there.
That's what I'm here for. The next question is from a lot of Mets. He says, Romeo, I'm not going to say that nickname for him, Romeo Langford, will he average double-digit points this year?
What kind of nicknames going on in this question? Will he average more points this year?
No, double-digit points. More points would be a reasonable question. Double-digit points is a crazy question.
Yeah, I don't think he's going to be a double-digit guy this year. He has averaged, I believe it's like 7.1 points per 36 minutes for his career. There's no way he's going to play 36 minutes. There's a pretty good chance he doesn't even play like 15.
Will he average double-digit minutes this year is the question.
Double-digit minutes? Probably not.
I would be kind of surprised.
Maybe he will play double-digit minutes in the games that he plays.
Yeah, he only plays like 40 games, but in that he averages 12 minutes per game.
Yeah, I just think there's a lot of competition for those minutes. You look, I mean, the Celtics have 5 perimeter guys who averaged at least 30 minutes per game last season in Marcus Smart, Jaylen Brown, Jason Tatum, Josh Richardson, and Dennis Schroeder, and they were all on playoff teams. So I just don't think there's going to be a lot of minutes for backup wings. I think Nesmith, based on how he finished last season, I have more faith that he'll be ready to contribute than Langford, and just the fact that he can shoot, and the Celtics will probably need shooting in some of their lineups. And then you've got like Aaron Gomez, you've got Grant Williams, you've got Jabari Parker also competing for minutes at the 4 slot. So I just don't see Romeo Langford playing a big role unless he makes big offensive
huge
strides.
Leap, unless he like another ping pong paddle summer where he just absolutely fixes his shot and is a knockdown shooter, or like figures out how to drive to the basket. I think there's no way he averages double-digit points. I think out of people on the bench, I think Schroeder can obviously has that potential. Cantor may have that potential, but just because in the games that he does play, he does it like he can get that, but I don't think he's going to play a lot. Do you think Pritchard or Nesmith has the ability to kind of average double digits?
What did Pritchard average last year? Like 7?
So he could go up.
Yeah, but Pritchard's role is
very interesting.
That's one thing I'm very curious about, because I'm just not convinced that he can play next to Dennis Schroeder and that combo makes sense. And then if
he got 19 minutes a game last year and played in 66 games. So he was like pretty much a constant for the Celtics lineup, and he only averaged 7 points. I could see his minutes per game going down. And so unless he just is like a sharpshooter and just jacking like 4-3, 5 threes a game, then I don't really see that coming from Peyton.
I don't think there's a real path for him averaging 10. Josh Richardson, if he comes off the bench, maybe.
I think Al Horford, if he comes off the bench, can definitely do it, but it's yet to be seen what's going to happen there. All right, the final two questions. These are also from Eddie. I'm going to pivot them a little bit. It's like, how often does preseason factor into lineup decisions, or is training camp more important? I think that's a tough question to ask. When I'm asking you, Jay, you've been covering the team for a long time. You've been through many training camps and many preseasons. What does it mean? Like, what's the most memorable thing that's come out of a training camp or a preseason that you actually think like had an impact on the rest of the season?
This is probably going to be sad for listeners to hear. The one thing that stands out the most to me is how good the Celtics looked when Gordon Hayward and Kyrie Irving were in their first year together. Like,
those preseason games were electric.
Limited minutes in the preseason, but you could tell instantly how good that team could have been. And with Horford, with Hayward, with Kyrie, with Tatum and Brown, even though like not a lot was known about those guys at that time. Tatum was a rookie. Brown had not played too many minutes during his rookie season. It just kind of jumped out like, oh, wow. Like, those guys look like they play very well together and kind of make a lot of sense together. And so obviously that's just like a what if at this point. And it never was at this point.
But we don't even know because it didn't end up actually having a big impact on the season. And so like I can think of also the picture from that season of the 5 guys standing there and everyone being like, who can stop them? That looking pretty dumb at the end of that run. But I can't remember things that happened in training camp or things that happened in a preseason that had a huge impact on what was happening or what happened in the rest of the regular season. So we're going to obviously look into everything and over debate everything, but ultimately I just don't think it is going to have that much of an impact. I feel like early season games are going to do much more determined rotation than like the full preseason games.
Especially on a team like this Celtics team where I feel like most of the guys who are going to play big minutes are pretty obvious. And then there will be like a couple slots for a Nesmith, a Pritchard, whoever to kind of step up and emerge. But I do think like there are a lot of veteran players who have done a lot of things in the NBA on this team. And so there's not necessarily like a ton to figure out about who's going to play. Now, who's going to play with each other, I think there's a lot to figure out for Ime Udoka because there are a lot of different options and ways that he can kind of shape this Celtics team. But I don't know. Preseason's never too much, except I was pretty convinced that the Celtics were going to be very, very good.
Those games were pretty electric. All right. The time has come to reckon with what has happened. We played one-on-one this weekend. Jay beat me. You know what? But like, obviously we can't trust either of ourselves as reliable narrators because Jay is going to just be filled with braggadocio. And
no, I actually would not because that was fucking horrendous.
Well, we did have someone there videoing it. If you want to look at the clips of our dreadful performance, you can check it out on our Twitter page @Potable. But our new intern, Jeff, was there to video, and he's going to be the independent arbiter of fact to discuss what happened there in a one-on-one matchup. So, Jeff, welcome to the podcast, and just give us your first initial takes to the basketball that you witnessed on Saturday or on Sunday.
Thanks for having me, guys. I think you guys both played well. I think
that's so false. Tell us the truth.
If you're going to be an intern for us, you got to be brutally honest, and that is not a brutally honest, Jeff.
Well, I guess
you guys both played well. Go fuck yourself.
I mean, I do think there was some good energy and some good effort going on in the game.
That's not true either.
No, I know. I think
energy.
at least at the beginning, I think you guys were into it, and I think it was competitive. I mean, obviously by the end, it was mostly just Jay backing Jam down into the post. But I thought Jam put up a good fight. He was hustling for rebounds. He was hit some shots.
That's a lie. So my biggest takeaway, and
I will say the intern is gassing us up though.
Yeah, no, it was my biggest like Sunday night. I was just like sitting on my couch and was just like sad, and I just like couldn't figure out why. And it's because I put up such lackluster effort and let Jay take basically open jump shots. He eventually would have beaten me nonetheless because he eventually figured out that I had he has like 45 pounds on me and could take me in the post no matter what. But I should not given him the many open twos he had. And I went back and watched the clips, and the amount of times I was just like, I missed a shot and then was demoralized and didn't go and contest Jay's shot. It was mental weakness upon my part. It was a failure of character on me. And
did you get in bad shape recently? Because I feel like you should have been in better shape than you were.
Okay, I don't have the short burst. We played 2 games. I could have played 3 or 4 more games. I have the endurance. It's that immediate burst of athleticism, which is where I was lacking. But yeah, I probably should be in better shape for someone who plays pickup like 2 or 3 times a week. But I'm not.
Even when you were like trying to you were giving me a lot of space. Were you worried that I was going to go by you? Because I can't go by a fucking stationary wall at this point.
It's just generally my defensive strategy. I don't know. I feel like with the I wanted you to shoot a contested shot rather than you try to drive by me. We saw what happened when you drove. You were a large individual, and I had no answer for that. That was the other thing is when you did back me down, you would just back me down, hit my chest 4 times, and then I would be so tired from that I wouldn't even contest it. Your little baby jump hooks. So it was just disappointing. I don't know how to spin. If I knew how to drive with my left hand, that would be a major game changer. The thing that was crafty about Jay is that anytime I got a smidgen of a space, he hit me with a little bit of a hip check at that. I would be a giant I was going to say an anatomy for a woman, but I'm not going to say that. We're a good podcast to call a foul there. You can't call a foul on that little hip bump, but given my lack of skills, that hip bump just rendered me useless when I was driving left. And if I think back on it, I did not attempt one drive to the right the entire game.
It seemed like it felt like for a little while, maybe in the second game, that Jam was going to pull it out. I don't know. No, not in the second game. Was it
There was never a moment. There was never a moment.
There was a moment where he was winning. He was up 5-3 at one point.
He was up. The first game, he was up.
I was up in both games. I was up in both games.
But here's the thing. I always knew I could get to the post game if I needed to. And I was just waiting for it because I knew that if I tried to do that too often, I would just tire myself out. And it would be I was basically rope-a-doping.
Maybe if we had more fans,
I knew I could get to that if I knew. I told my brothers the night before. I was like, look, I'm very out of shape, but if I need to, I'll just go in the post.
I needed to hustle way more and just but I thought I was going to be able to drive past you, but then anytime I tried to drive past you, I got the bump from the body and I just was rendered completely useless. And so I think it was a mental game. I was up and I never thought I was going to win because I just have no confidence in my shot. Whereas Jay, if you gave him even a little bit of daylight, he was taking a step back 3. And so I was fine with all of your step back 3s. It was the ones that were uncontested completely that were the lazy ones that made me feel bad about the performance.
I think maybe if there was more fans there to support Jam, then maybe he would have won a game.
If we kept playing, I think eventually, maybe by game 5, you are just on the floor, Jay, and then I can win. But shout out to the 2 fans of the pod who did show up. I'm terrible with names, and I completely forgot both of their names, but they're great listeners.
Yeah, I was impressed. That was cool of them to show up.
That was fun. That was a cool moment for me. The fact that someone would want to come watch me play a totally washed up fat ass version of a one-on-one basketball game. That was cool for me.
The funny thing is that from the footage that Jeff posted on the Twitter account, that's 10% of what we actually did. There were so many more misses and so many more ugly possessions that we didn't include.
Thank God he didn't post that 1 3-minute stretch of us.
I could have posted so many more clips of just you guys going back and forth and just misses after misses after misses. I had to cut out a lot of it.
Yeah, there was a lot to cut out. Let's be honest.
Yeah.
We have a question from SEA Productions. Who are the NBA player equivalents of Jam and Jay?
I'm gonna say if oh yeah, Jeff. Let's hear what Jeff says.
I mean, for Jay, I'm that's a tough one. I'm not even sure who to say. I don't know.
Are
What
there
do you
any
guys
fat post-up point guards?
Raymond Felton.
Raymond Felton. I was just about to say Raymond Felton.
I saw someone in the comments call you
Call
like
me
90s
Jamin Felton.
90s Mark Jackson, with just like backing dudes down in the post. I can see that. For me, I think I'm like a Draymond Green type in that I have no individual offensive skills whatsoever.
Does Draymond just sit there while
He's
his
passer.
guy
If you get me in a nice 5-on-5, a 3-on-3, then my game shines. I don't know what I'm doing.
Draymond would have never let me sit there and shoot wide open shots. Draymond would have never let me just bully his ass.
No one in the NBA would have. Like, this is an NBA comparison.
You're more like a Vincent Poirier type.
I was the best dressed player on the game. I did have a fit, like correct, red shoes, red shorts, red claws. But yeah, no, I'll take the Vinny Sex Pants comparison because we had equally productive games in that. But you know what? I think we just got to come back and do this every like 3 months and just see if I can eventually topple you, take you down. I'm clearly not going to get to 10,000 followers anytime soon. Oh, Jeff, that's your new assignment. Is your job is to get me to 10,000 followers before the end of the season.
What are you at right now?
9,430.
Oh, so you only need about like 600. I think we can do it.
All right. That's why we have an intern coming on board. You know, I'm going to law school now. I can't do shameless self-promotion, so we're going to bring in Jeff.
Did you see? I wore the Tennessee hat just for Jeff.
Oh, wow. Look at that. Go Vols, baby.
Guy.
Where'd you get a Tennessee hat from?
Tennessee, baby.
I was in South Carolina, and there was like a college apparel store.
Oh, cool.
And I liked the hat. So I bought the hat, and then no lie, like 30 minutes later, I was going out to eat, and some guy started screaming, "Go Vols!"
Whenever I wear,
what is he talking about? Like, why is this person screaming? I mean, and then I realized, oh, I'm wearing a Tennessee hat. Yeah. I just like the white hat.
Whenever I wear Tennessee gear, someone says something. It's kind of amazing, actually. Even when I'm in like the middle of Boston, someone says something.
Some fierce.
The power of Rocky Top. I've been to Tennessee.
Josh Richardson and Grant Williams.
And
Admiral Schofield.
And Admiral Schofield, yeah.
Grant Williams, the Players Union vice president, who's not going to get many play minutes this year. All right, Jeff, do you have any other
Allen Houston go to Tennessee?
Did who?
Allen Houston?
He did, and so did Bernard King.
Ooh, there you go. Knows his history. I like that intern, Jeff. Do you have any other observations from we got to talk about the spatula.
Oh, the spatula. That was a cool prize. I hope they put that to use.
I gave one of our fans a Celtics like grill, spatula, metal, wooden handle, incredible piece of equipment. It's been in my house for the past like 4 years. And the kid, I'm sorry I forget his name, but he turned it down. He didn't
Why
want the
would
spatula.
You want that spatula? Honestly.
He was gonna have to carry it around. I understand. I understood his point on that one, I think.
It's a valid point. I was literally just trying to get rid of the spatula because I no longer wanted it in my house. But if you showed up, you could have gotten the spatula too. You could have got a picture with a sweaty and out of shape Jay King and a sweaty and out of shape Jam Packard. A classic battle of a has-been and a never was. It was just a pretty epic journey. If you guys want to watch it again, you can go to the Potable Twitter account. That's @Potable, and look at all the clips where you can see just some ugly basketball. Jeff, thank you for coming out and filming it and for uploading all those clips and for joining the squad. Jay, anything else from you before we sign off?
I just want to say that was just a one-sided affair. I know the score didn't quite show it, 15-11, 15-9. You'd think they were pretty close games. I just want to let everyone know, like, there was never a single doubt. I was always in full control of that game. I was always going to score at any time I wanted when it was crunch time. and I was always going to get whatever stop I wanted when I had to dig deep. So that's just all I want to leave for the fans. I know it looked bad. I know it looked ugly. I know Jeff could tell you we had long stretches of doing absolutely nothing, but I just want the people to know that deep inside me, there was a place that I could go that I knew Jam couldn't get to.
I mean, I didn't want to go here, but at least like I didn't have the bad visual of finding out I'm so fat when I saw the video.
It was tough for me. It was tough. I was like, oh damn! Like I've got a gut like that. I didn't realize how big the gut was.
Yeah,
neither did I.
I showed my dad the clips, and he was like, "Wow, Jay looks like he's getting a little out of shape." And I was like,
Your
wow.
father? See, now the real truth comes out.
Jeff
Comes in and he's all nice, and then at the end of it, he's like, "Yeah, well, my dad thinks you're a fucking fat ass."
Put down the donuts, Jay.
My dad listens to the podcast sometimes too, so he knows who you guys are. And I mentioned it to him, and he was like, "Oh yeah."
I was not prepared for the gut either. It was very difficult to play against. But I guess my question for you guys is Shame potable?
Sure.
Everything is potable.